Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today's junk is a 1998 Kawasaki Bayou 300 4x4. I bought this thing probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, something like that. And I've done a little bit to it, but mainly the coil wire was loose, so it didn't have spark. And someone has bypassed the neutral safety switch, which is inside this case here somewhere. We're gonna find out where exactly. So it constantly thinks it's in neutral. So when I'm in 4th or 5th gear and I try to downshift, I have to actually turn the reverse switch activator, or whatever you want to call it, before it'll let me shift down past to 3rd or 2nd gear. It's some bullshit. And they had this stupid ass granny shifter that you shift with your hand up here. That thing was fucking miserable because you had to literally move your leg like off the fucking four-wheeler to shift, and you had to push the shifter under your leg. It was the people who worked on this four-wheeler, the people who had it before the guy I bought it from, never need to touch anything with an engine or wheels again. It's fucking ridiculous that every single bolt on this fucking thing that they have touched is gone. The whole front fender section was held on by 2 bolts when I had to buy like 20 bolts to get this thing set back up to where it's supposed to be. So yeah, anyways, little rant over. We've got our recoil pull start off already. I was in here adjusting the valves the other day, so I've got that off, and I guess I'm just gonna start pulling stuff off. I'll start with pulling this guy off. I've read that I need a pry bar to keep that still and then pull the nut off. We'll see if it's reverse thread or not. Alright, I'm going to start taking the other bolts off around here first. This thing, I'm probably just going to break out a 1/2-inch ratchet. I tried with my little 3/8 impact, and I don't know. I think it just loosens like normal, but I mean, the engine rotates counterclockwise, so I would think that it's actually reverse thread, but I don't know. I'm just gonna send it with a 1/2-inch ratchet, I guess. But I'm gonna go ahead and take off this 10 mil and just start taking off some of these parts, get them out of the way. I'm gonna focus on everything over here first because I think that's where the part I need to change is, but it might be over here. So, well, guess we'll find out. Alright, so I'm taking off our high-low lever, I guess. And it's got a bolt there, a bolt over here, and it's got one vertical back here. Alright, so I'm gonna attempt, damn, everything's shocking me. I'm gonna attempt to go to the right. I don't like how that feels. Yeah, I should have seen that coming. Oh shit, it is lefty-loosey. Alright. And this is a 14mm, by the way. And they call it the alternator stator bolt or some shit. And there should be a key on here as well. He's not wanting to come off. Let's give him a little. Just a little persuasion. Oh, there he goes. So yeah, he's got a little Woodruff key in there, so keep an eye on that guy. And looks like there might be a seal there too, but alright, I'm gonna zip off all these case bolts. They should all be 8mm. Alright, so I got these upper bolts and this one here, and there's two down here. Kind of hard to see, so I'm sitting on the floor now. And this bolt here was too tight for me to get my 3/8 socket in there, so I've just got a little 8mm 1/4 inch that I'm using now. Just taking them off by hand now. And there should be some RTV or gasket between these halves and the block. So I'm gonna be putting some, replacing on RTV, I guess. And don't forget to have an oil drain pan under here. Alright, so I'm pretty sure the RTV is holding it on. I gave it some taps from the side and didn't get anywhere, so I'm gonna give the housing just, yeah, there we go. Just give the housing edges a few taps. We'll see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's some kind of gasket there. I'm gonna go and disconnect the all the electricals that go in there, and then we'll be right back. Alright, so these are all the connections that go into this case. Our green and red here are going to be bullet connectors. This is unplugged because I bypassed it. But the green is your neutral, the red is your reverse. This right here, the blue and black and white wires, this connector is for your pickup coil. Let's see if I can get this off by hand. There we go. And then your stator / alternator connections are these 3 blacks that go into 3 yellows. Little connector on the side. There we go. I'm gonna make sure these are all out of the way of whatever that is. Feels like it's hanging up on something. Something like a wire or something on the back here. Alright, I'm fucking retarded. I forgot that this right upper bolt goes all the way through here. This is the bolt for the recoil starter. Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah. Here's our inside of this guy. This is our pickup coil here, and our stator / alternator there. And these 2 wires, so we're looking for... Fuck. Well, I just did all that and I didn't need to. That's lovely. I'm looking at the connection for these wires for the neutral reverse switch, which, I mean, it makes sense. It's behind the, transmission housing here, so Whoopsie! Guess I didn't need to do that. Damn! He's floppy. Not up top, just down at the bottom. I wonder if this is... I don't know if this is our timing chain or not, but... pretty sloppy. I ain't about to change it though, that's for damn sure. Alright, well, in that case, I guess I'll start taking this guy apart. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. Get back to you guys in a little bit, I guess. Alright, so I've got the foot peg unbolted. And I've got the bolt off that holds the shifter on there. Yeah, that was all out of frame, my bad. So yeah, got shifter off, all the bolts off for it. I'm just gonna run them back in where they go. Alright, shit's escalated. So last you saw that I think this was still on the ground. And to pull this case, I have to pull the front and rear drive shaft. Well, these aren't normal drive shafts. So to pull the rear drive shaft, you actually have to pull all of this off, the whole back axle pretty much. So you got the 14 mil bolt and nut on the other side there. And you've got a 14 millimeter bolt that goes through here on the that thing you put your foot on, the foot peg. Alright, now to pull this axle, once again, another 14 mil and a nut over here, and a bolt down there. There's two vent lines. These run all the way up the frame to there, and they go around your gas tank, as well as the vent for your carb. Whoops, that just fell off. So then you've got two brake cables back here. Sorry, I'm not good at this. You've got a little rubber boot you got to pull forward over onto the line, and then you can pull it back and up out of its holder. There's one holder right back here. Where is it? Yeah, right there. And then you've got another one right here. You can pull it from right there, but I wasn't able to get to the I wasn't able to get that boot off, so I just pulled it from up here. And then this goes around your rear brake pedal, and it's held in with this guy. The washer goes over here where my thumbnail or pointer fingernail is, and it's got a cotter key that goes through it. Alright, so with the brakes, the rear brakes, this is how it's set up. And there's a washer in between here and this spring. So you basically just pull the bracket assembly back and then unscrew this guy till he comes out, and then pull the bracket back until the rod is through here, and you can just push this little guy out the side. Now with all that disconnected, I should be able to just basically just pull this thing off. By the way, there's a boot up here for your drive shaft. You need to loosen those clamps, but be careful because there's going to be oil or grease or whatever there is in there. I can't really catch it with anything because of the way I have the four-wheeler situated, so It's just going to dump on the floor, so well. There we go. Oh, what a pain in the ass. Alright, so for the front drive shaft, you're going to have a little boot right here. Hold on, let's get this set back up. So you're going to have this boot here. I don't think anything holds it on except friction, so you just pull that guy back. Forget about that guy. Go ahead and loosen this rear clamp on the dust boot back here. And then you'll see a circlip here. I don't have a circlip tool, so I was able to just get a pair of snap ring pliers on it. Then pull that guy back. Once again, get that guy out of the way. And then you grab this piece here and slide him back. Way, way, way easier than the rear. And then don't forget about the spring that just went AWOL. So yeah, there's the front prop shaft, and now I guess I'm just gonna start now I guess I'm just gonna start unbolting stuff. Alright, so it seems like I glossed over something or forgot to record something. So I wanted to run it by you guys. So if you see this cup right here that's around the output shaft, that's held in by 3 or 4 5mm hex keys. If you take your grinder and cut that hex key, cut the 90 off of it, you can stick it into a 5mm socket. That'll come in handy later for when you're torquing it. After that, you want to clean real good. Use compressed air and pick at all the dirt that's going to be stuck between the case here and the high-low selector here. Just dig that out and blow it out. Don't do like I did and got a bunch of shit in there. I had to actually clean this thing out with diesel later on. That way I knew it was nice and clean. Go ahead and remove the high-low selector here. There's 2 bolts here on the outside. They're longer than the ones on the inside. Then after you have that guy off, then you can get to these, this one right here. But go ahead and remove the reverse override cable and bracket. The bracket bolts on right here with a 10mm bolt. Just go and use the open end of a wrench to undo that. Then this bolt here is going to have a bracket that holds that cable on. Actually undo this one first, and it'll make it a lot easier getting that cable out of the bracket down here. After that's out of the way, then you can remove these larger bolts that hold this thing in, and then remove all the smaller bolts. Don't forget there's one long one hidden down here and a little bit of a shorter one hidden down here as well. Alright, so I've got all these small bolts out, and I did have to take this high-low shifter top assembly out. We've got 4 8mm screws or bolts that hold this in. The ones that are on the inside of the engine are the smaller ones. And then yeah, there's going to be a bunch of dirt jacked in there, so underneath the drive shaft we've got one short full threaded, and it's recessed in there. That's how you know it's going to be a full threaded one. So these two, one there, They're both the same length and everything. Now this one pushes out. It's got a little, comes out a little bit on where the bolt goes in. But this one's only threaded up most of the way. Above that one, we've got another one that's only like half thread. Above that, he's full threaded. Full threaded. These are a little longer than the ones down below. Still full threaded. Full threaded. And then we've got one down here that's real long. Once again, those are all 8mm. So I don't think this is gonna, yeah, this isn't pulling off. So that's all the bolts and stuff, but man, I'm thinking I do have to pull the gear or whatever other bullshit they said in the manual in here. Well, guess I'll go look at that again. Alright, so I missed one bolt down here. I see the top half. I gave it a few taps with a dead blow rubber mallet. And I saw the top half of the case split. So this should be the only thing holding it in now. And this guy's normal sized, half threaded. You know what? I'm gonna make sure. Yeah, it's the same size as the other ones. Oh yeah, baby, there we go. Oh my gosh. Now I actually took the seals out back here. They were a 5mm hex key. In the service manual, it says that you have to take those off, and then there's two nuts on the shafts, one here, and yeah, I got down to that part. I don't have this. It takes a special tool to do it, so I figured let's just see what happens. And well, let's see how it goes. She's leaning. Let's get this bolt out of the way so I can pull her forward. I see my switch! And I also see the gasket this takes. I'm probably going to take a break from this thing for a few days and order some parts. And I don't know, I'll probably actually order the proper gasket for this and this. That way I don't have to use RTV. But I don't know, we'll see. Oh, so much dirt and crap. But yeah, here we go. Oh, I'm dripping fucking fluid everywhere. Oh, there goes my screwdriver. Or thing. Whatever, you see it. I'm flipping it around. There you go. Oh boy. What a absolute gem. So I see my neutral reverse switch here. And I see the wires go up through here, then to those two rubber gaskets or whatever, and then comes out of the case. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna peel the gasket back and then pop that out of there with a what's it called, Phillips screwdriver. And then my fire went out earlier. I've just been screwing around pretty much, and yeah, it's fucking cold out here, so I'm gonna get my ass inside and eat some salmon patties. Alright, so once again, my stunned ass forgot to record this part with the GoPro. I recorded it on my phone, and the aspect ratio is fucked up, so you guys gotta deal with the voiceover max here and me pointing shit out going through this video. So I took the neutral reverse switch off, and I also took off the reverse override thing that's right below that, that has a spring on it. And this is what I found. Yeah, that cam gear is broken half. As you can see, there's the other half. And at some point, well, here, let me show you. So you see that half circle right there, and there's a half circle right there. They meet up, and in between there, like back here, there's supposed to be a very small spring and a very small pin that sticks out through here. That's how your neutral reverse switch knows when it's a neutral or reverse, is on the actual switch. It's got copper contacts that ground to this when you're in the correct position. Yeah, there's no spring and no pin anymore. It either got eaten up by the gears in here, or, which is more likely, or it got flushed out with an oil change or something. But judging by all the metal here and back here, I'm gonna just go out on a limb and guess that it got eaten up by the gears. So that was my issue. And I actually did read about this happening, and it's common when you do one thing, and that is when you plow with these four-wheelers specifically. Also, don't try to use RTV for these gaskets, because it's never going to work right. The spacing has to be right, and to do that, you need to actually use the proper gasket. Just spend the $20 and get the gasket, and the gasket for over here is like fucking $6 from Keltrek or something. So if we go forward a little bit, I mean, there's not that much to see, but I did want to mention that this bevel gear here, to put on your new gasket, you're going to need to remove that. This bolt is just normal lefty-loosey, and then I think these are 10 mils, just zip them out, and then this guy pulls off. And, clean up all your old gaskets, get rid of all that shit, and get your new gasket set on here. Of course, you got locating pins, so should be fine. I'll put all the torque specs for all these bolts and stuff in the description, so check there. So when you pull off your sub-transmission case, your neutral reverse switch looks like this guy. 3 copper contacts, only 2 of those are used. It bolts on like this. Bolts on like this. Sorry, screws in. Just like that. It's got 2 Phillips screws that hold it in. And once you take those out, if you don't have anything broken, this is what you'll see. Now, I've already loosened this one, but this is what was in there sitting at the bottom of the sub-transmission case. At some point this has cracked, broken, half of it had fallen down into here, and 2 very important things were most likely drained out with some old oil at some point. So I'm going to show you guys how this works real quick. This is a 5mm hex key. Alright, so before you pull this off, I've got the hex key out. Be careful because there should be a spring and a little pin behind this. Now mine's broken, so I'm just pull this guy off. Now on the back of this, you're going to see a cutout here where my thumb is, and a hole where my imprint or pointer finger is. Then you're going to have a pin right there. Make sure that pin is there. And then you should have a... Oh shit. I dropped the spring. Alright, after a few minutes I found this fucking little bastard. Alright, so this is what's behind that neutral switch holder. You have a real small pin with the rounded side facing towards us, and then behind it's that little spring. So the indent there is where that pin back there goes, and then in the hole is where your spring goes, and then that little pin. So I'm going to put it together real quick and then show you guys how it works. Alright, so with our neutral switch holder back on here, our pin is in along with our spring behind it, and of course that slotted piece, the slotted part, is where the neutral switch holder sits onto the that pin back here. This is torqued to 104 inch-pounds. By the way, don't forget about your reverse, like, I don't know what you'd call this thing, but you pull the reverse lever and it twists this like that. Let me get some light. You got this tab here, the spring hooks around it, and then goes in this hole over here. I just wanted to mention that because I just installed my freaking neutral switch again and realized that I forgot to put that on, so yeah. Alright, so I've got my neutral reverse switch in here just to test and make sure it works. So when my neutral reverse switch holder broke, that spring and that pin dropped down to here, and they either got eaten by gears or they got flushed out through an oil change. Regardless, they weren't there. I ordered some new ones. That's the ones you guys saw, and I put them in there. This is just set up for testing purposes. You're actually supposed to use some kind of non-hardening locking agent on these two screws. I've only got one of these screws in, and there's no Loctite on it for you know, testing purposes. So here's the routing for the wires. There's a little hook there, and it comes up behind that. Get you guys up here, up some more, and then you got these two rubber blocks. Alright, so I've got my neutral and reverse wires hooked up. My red is my reverse, my green is my neutral. You guys should be able to see the green neutral light. And if I go into reverse, which is down, sometimes I've got to shift the, move the gear a little bit. You can see it should be lit up. So yeah, reverse, and back up to neutral. Perfect. So yeah, that's, I know these work, but to test them, basically your red wire and your green wire, both with the key on, get 12 volts battery power. That pin touches that copper contact and grounds it out, completing the circuit. That's why our dash lights come on, because the circuit's completed. Alright guys, so I got my neutral reverse switch back in there. I've got my reverse override here and working. Now I want to say something. This thing's been sitting here for over a week because I tried using RTV as a gasket. Don't do that. One, it makes a fucking mess when you have to come back in here and clean it up. And two, you need the gasket as sort of a shim. Otherwise, your reverse override won't work. So, got my genuine gasket here. I've got El Cheapo Chinesium gasket for the front cover. I don't care about that one. So you might notice I have the gear here off. The nut is a 22 millimeter. Then you've got a washer that goes behind the nut. And then it's held in by 5 of these 10 millimeter silver bolts. Here's its housing. And then you've got a bearing in here as well. So I had to take that off to get the rest of the old gasket off and get the new gasket on here. So we'll get back when I've got this new gasket on here and this stuff put back together. Alright, so now that we have our 510 mils torqued down to 104 inch-pounds, we're going to put our washer back there, put our bevel gear on, apply engine oil to the nut threads, and then we're going to torque this to 87 foot-pounds. Oh, put this in neutral, or put this in reverse. So to do that, we're going to grab our little reverse override mechanism, turn that guy. We're gonna shift her down to reverse, and it's not gonna want to work, so I'm gonna have to turn the gears to get it to lock in. So right now she's in reverse, which is supposedly the strongest gear. So that's what we're going to want it on when we're torquing this. And this is just righty-tighty. Alright, I was able to get it to torque spec, so yeah, that wasn't fun considering the engine was trying to spin over. Alright, so I've got the sub-transmission case off of the bike. I've got my rear cup, I guess I would call it, the front, and then this top one that all have seals. There is a seal back here behind this plate, but I don't have the special socket to take the nut off of this shaft to get that off, so I guess I just gotta hope for the best. I cleaned everything up with diesel and then sprayed it with some brake clean, that way it can dry. But I wanted to mention these seals. So the one here and the one up here for the reverse shaft and then the shifter shaft are real easy. Just grab a, of course be careful, but grab a flat tip screwdriver, get behind the seal, and just pop it right out. Those two are the same. Like I said, so this goes at the top rear of the case. And there's an O-ring that goes in right there. This is our bottom cup. At least that's what I'm calling it. There is a seal here, or I'm sorry, O-ring, and then there's a seal in here. But I'm making this real quick to show you, there's a lip right here. So it sits on there like this. You need to push the seal this way, not this way like you would think, but this way. Let me show you that lip here. Right there, my fingernails on it. So just basically, seal gets pushed out this way to uninstall it. And then on our front plate, we have a seal that sits in here. You can see the lip right there. This mounts. This is the outside, and the seal to uninstall it is push the seal out this way. Just wanted to record that real quick. Alright, so I'm doing the seals on this guy, and I wanted to cover this front drive shaft seal cover, or whatever you want to call it. And at first this thing seems like a pain in the ass, but you've got two of your T5 screws. By the way, what I did was, not T5. I took a 5mm hex key, cut the 90 off, and put it into a 5mm socket. And that's how I'm doing this. Anyways, suck it down till it gets hard to turn by these screws back here. Then take a mallet or something and give this outer edge a tap to seat it. That way it's sucking it down and it's going like that. So it's going down pretty easily. The reason why you have to use these inner screws, whatever you want to call them, is because on this outer one the threads don't start until you're about halfway down. So I can start to do this now, but I'm just gonna show you guys real quick how to run this on. Also, I was able to get this seal in with this thing. I've had them in the freezer overnight. I pushed it in as far as I could by hand. Put this guy just like that and gave him a little tap, and it seated this seal all the way. This seal was for the reverse shaft, and this is your main pivot shaft. For this one, you can seat it with a, let's double check, I think it's a 16mm socket, and that gets on the outside. But yeah, for this guy I just used this thing. You could use a shorter one as well. This just goes in an impact driver to run screws in. So yeah, back to this. Just going to show you right here. Get about 3 turns on it. Got tight. Just keep doing that till you can get the other bolts in. And then I'm going to run over the torque specs with you real quick. Give me just a second. These are going to be 95 inch-pounds. If we switch to the back, so these upper 3 are going to be 69 inch-pounds. And these bottom 4 are going to be 78 inch-pounds. Alright, so I'm going to set my case half on here. Remember that you need to take the output shaft cup off of there to sneak it past the frame over here. Easiest thing to do is just line it up with the shifter shaft. Just playing around, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There we go. I'm just trying to wiggle it on here the rest of the way. There we go. That's most of the way, and that's all the way now. So I'm going to snug some of these bolts up, the 8mm. And if you don't recall, if we start at this bottom corner here, it's a short full threaded, another short full threaded, then you've got a long half thread, a long half thread above that, a long half thread above that, and then this very top one I think is when it goes back to the short full thread, then short full thread, short full thread, short full thread, and then your last two go down here. This one's going to be a long, well, I say long, it's going to be one of these guys, thread it halfway up, and then your extra long one goes over here. So I'm going to snug these bolts up and then make sure my reverse override still functions correctly. Alright, so I've got some of the thread diameter is 6mm, but the heads are 8mm. I've got all those in. They're not torqued yet because I need to torque these long fat bolts that go there, and those three. Those need torqued first for installation, and for removal they need removed first. And then the three here, 1, 2, and 3, need a non-permanent thread locker on the threads. So I've got what I think is close enough to that. I've just got some blue thread locker. For these larger ones, I'm going to torque those to 144 inch-pounds, which is 12 foot-pounds. And all these smaller ones, I'm going to torque to, it's subjective, but I'm going to torque mine to about 60-ish foot-pounds, something like that. In between 52 and 69. So somewhere in there. I'll just pick something. Alright, so you might have trouble seeing it, but I've got my reverse override just sitting on the bolt, and that bolt's a pain in the ass. So to start it by hand, turn your hand like this, make a fist, and then reach around the drive shaft like this. Imagine the bolt's here, and then turn your hand to start to thread it. That's the easiest way I've found. This thing's taken me like 15 minutes before, and I just got it in a couple seconds. You kind of just gotta try to get a screwdriver, or you know, just use a wrench to tighten that up, and then clock your this guy to the correct position. Then hook up your reverse cable, and then you can bolt that last bolt on there. I'll show you guys that once I've got this tightened down. Alright, so I've got my cable back on here. I've got my bolt torqued down that holds that bracket on there. Right now it's in, well, it was in reverse, but I shifted it to neutral. So I'm going to turn my reverse override switch so you can see that moving. And now that's reverse. Comes back up to neutral. Now I let off the reverse override, and it's not going to reverse. So it's good. Once again, just for the shits and giggles, put her in reverse. By the way, I read in the service manual that they want you to unbolt the entire reverse switch from the dash assembly or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to do that. There should be a zip tie somewhere up here. Just cut that zip tie and that'll give you enough slack to get that pin out of there. Let's see, what's next? I guess I'll put my left side engine cover back on. When you are putting this guy back on, make sure all your wires and stuff are in this gap and out of the way. Yeah, I guess I'll do that now. Alright, so I've got my left engine cover back on, and I'm about to put my flywheel back on. I put a little bit of grease around this outer edge here since it touches the seal there, and also there's an O-ring inside here that you need to put a little bit of oil on. And then also don't forget about your key here, if you can see that guy. Make sure he's lined up and then slide him on in. Oh, and there he went. Shit. Well, you get the point. We'll keep the flywheel from turning, and we'll torque that flywheel bolt to 43 foot-pounds. Alright, so I got my flywheel bolt torqued down. Now I'm going to put our recoil pole starter back on this guy. Now this does technically have a gasket back here, but I wasn't about to buy a gasket for this, so oh well. Now your super long bolt goes in your top right hole. And then I'm going to torque these guys down to 60 inch-pounds. But if you're scared that's not tight enough, then go ahead and tighten them to 69 inch-pounds. Nice. And as with everything else, I'm torquing these in a star pattern or crisscross, whatever you can do. Just making sure they're all correct. Now these 4 outer bolts that I'm putting in right now, they do look like they had thread locker on them at some point, but I didn't see anything in the owner's manual or repair manual saying that they need Loctited. And plus, whatever this is, it's red, so don't know and don't really care either. So I'm going to torque these up and I'll be right back. Alright, so I finished torquing those 4 bolts. I'm still waiting on my gasket for my high-low shift fork. So I'll do that when the gasket gets here, and I also lost one of my bolts, so I gotta replace that guy. After that, I'll put on the actual shifter and shift linkage that goes over here. Alright, so I'm putting my oil pipe. I don't really know what I should call this. It's like a cooler line, but it just goes to the top of the transmission to lubricate it. I got new crush washers. The banjo bolt's a 12 millimeter, and it's going to be 175 pound-foot of torque. And I also put my end cap in over here. Alright, before you put your foot peg back on, don't forget to put on your shifter and torque that 10 mil to 69 inch-pounds. And then we've got this some kind of guard. Alright, I've got the pain in the ass rear end back on. We pretty much lined up the shaft first, kind of wiggled it a lot until we got stuff lined up. This side, we actually had to put a ratchet strap around the axle and to up there to get our bottom bolt to line up. After that, I tapped it in. Don't forget to put Loctite on these bolts here, and don't forget to put your foot pegs on here. Torque your bolts down here with Loctite on them to 300 inch-pounds, and then your shock bolts, don't put Loctite on those, and they're the same torque spec of 300 inch-pounds. Alright, so I've got this guy back on here, since your rear swing arm bolt goes through that guy, and I've got it torqued down to the foot pegs. I torqued the foot pegs to 150 inch-pounds and then did my final tightening on the swing arm bolt. Alright, so I've got my rear free play adjusters on here. So the way this goes is, of course, put your dust boot here back onto here after you have your rod through there. So it goes spring, a washer, this I'm going to call it a pin, and then your screw adjuster onto the rod. Then your lines and stuff all go through this hook, and don't forget about your breather lines. Alright, so I'm not sure how well you guys are going to be able to see, but there's an adjuster right here. There's a lock nut here, and then your actual adjusting bolt right there. It's a 10mm, and this is going to adjust the free play for your brake pedal. Go over and look here. So the top of the brake pedal, foot peg, whatever you want to call it, should be 0 to 5mm above your actual foot peg. This one's misadjusted. It's like 15mm above, so you know you can't even really rest your foot here without your foot being back here. I'm going to set that up real quick after I loosen my adjusting nut, and I'll show you guys that. Alright, so I set up my free play, if you want to call it that. I set my adjusting nut, whatever you want to call this, so that my brake pedal is about flush with my foot peg. Now I'm going to adjust the free play. So according to the service manual, I need to measure the distance the brake pedal moves before the brake starts to take hold. So if I push this down, when I feel resistance, that's when the brake pedal starts to take hold, or when the brake starts to catch. So I just need to measure that distance, and it should be between 15 and 25mm. Alright, so to adjust the free play, you just go back here and spin this adjuster clockwise. And then you also have a nut back here in case the tightness starts to like turn or something. Alrighty, don't forget to check the description for all the part numbers associated with the parts that were broken on my quad, along with the gaskets you'll need, and the torque specs for all the bolts that you're likely to touch if you do this. Thank you guys for watching, and subscribe if you want to see me work on more junk. I've got some real treats coming up. I've got a Will It Run coming up on a Willys from 1962 to 64. I'll know for sure when I have the title. It's been sitting since 1997, so that's 28 years. And then after that, I have a video that will be coming up on a 1975 Mustang 2 right there. That has been sitting since 1987. So that is 38 years. That one's going to be a real treat. Like, yeah. I'm looking forward to it because it's a manual. But we'll see. Alrighty, once again, thank you guys for watching. See ya.